Hello, everybody. Good to see you again. This is Charles Rather. Today's topic, this is kind of a head-to-head battle. We're going to look at NIW versus EB-1a. What's better? What's easier? What's more likely to get an approval? And why should you choose one over the other? Again, my name is Charles Rather, managing partner at Am Law Group. We're a boutique immigration law firm based in South Florida, where we work with primarily professionals, entrepreneurs, high net worth investors to help them secure their future in the United States, whether it's temporarily or long-term permanent residency. But anyway, if you check out some of our other recent videos, we've talked a lot about NIW because that's an increasingly hot topic. That category is backlogged like I've never seen for a long time. There's a lot of people applying for it, and there must be a reason, right? And in this video, though, I want to talk about what's the difference between NIW and EB-1a, because at first glance, they look rather similar. And in some ways they are, but there's distinct differences between them. So let's talk a little bit about those differences so you can help get a better idea maybe which avenue you should pursue. So NIW, I'm not going to go into the details. You should check some of our other videos to see that. But the NIW, again, National Interest Waiver. This is where we're talking about skilled, experienced professionals coming to the U.S. that we can show they have some clear, substantial skills and experience that would be valuable to the U.S. economy, valuable not just to one particular company, but to the overall national interest of America in general. So that sounds like a lot of hokey pokey magic and whatever. What does that really mean? And that's the thing. It's a very amorphous category. There's no clear criteria like for other categories. So it's a little bit, it's as complicated as I'm kind of describing it. So check out our other videos where we go into more details. But the short and long of it, I would say it's kind of like the blue collar for professionals. These are people that have worked in their profession for quite a while, have a master's degree or higher, or at least a bachelor's and 5 years of progressive experience. And they've achieved some very good results based on their work. These aren't the showboats people, show-offs that are going to the presentations and getting these awards and trying to get media coverage. These are people that kind of have their nose to the grindstone, become experts and leading specialists in their area of expertise. And based on this, we can show they would serve the national interest of the U.S. On the other hand, then we have the EB-1as. How does that differ? Well, EB-1as, I would say, is more kind of like, I'm saying this jokingly, kind of the prima donnas. So these are the people that could collect the attention. They sought the attention, whether it's media attention and focus of their colleagues and other experts in their field of work. These are people that generally kind of were more out front and center, getting the awards, getting the recognition, and generally not because of who they are, that they're all a bunch of narcissists, but more because that's kind of part of their work. So EB-1a, typically you're going to look at more people maybe in sports, music, performing arts, maybe science, maybe business as well. But these are generally people that have a higher profile than those with the NIW. So the difference, though, in terms of the criteria, clients say, what should I do in NIW, EB-1a? And I'll say a lot of clients we have potentially, theoretically, could qualify for both. And at that point, we've got to kind of go down into the nitty-gritty of deciding, okay, what exactly does our client have and what option would best serve them? So the EB-1a, I would say, is generally considered to have higher requirements, that your level of achievement is probably going to be the highest with an EB-1a. And if you kind of put out a loose scale, I would say EB-1a is at the top, then NIW, then O1, and so forth. So EB-1a, I think, is generally considered to have the creme de la creme, right? The highest level of achievements. But, and those achievements are very distinct and fit into the categories that are created for the EB-1 category. So for example, EB-1a requires having some, again, you have to have 3 of these, so not all of them will apply. Having national, international awards, having good press coverage about your work where they write about your uniqueness and your unique achievements and accomplishments, or having press articles, research papers that you've written that were highly valued, made great contributions to the field, et cetera, like that. you had a high salary, you play a leading role in an important organization or association that was critical in the field that you're involved in. So again, these are things where you're kind of like, you're on the board of directors for the New York Ballet or stuff like that, and you had a high salary and you won these awards and stuff like that. So again, you're kind of out front and center and the focus of a lot of people maybe in your sector of activities. Whereas with the NIW, you might not have all that recognition, and it's okay. I mean, you might be an expert at what you do, but there was just never a need, and that wasn't really a part of your work to, be in the spotlight, so to say. And therefore, if you just didn't have a need or a requirement, or maybe those awards weren't even given out in your area of expertise, you might not be able to meet those requirements for EB-1a. So in a case like that, the NIW might be better. On the other hand, one way I think the EB-1a is better is that there's a very clear list of criteria for the EB-1a. There's a list of criteria, 8 criteria if I'm not mistaken. You have to meet 3 of them. And they're very distinct, very clear. And if you can kind of pigeonhole or make your background and awards and things fit at least 3 of those categories, the likelihood of approval is quite high. Whereas with the NIW, there's no specific categories. I mean, there's general requirements. If you look at the requirements for NIW, there's a lot of kind of broad general verbiage about what it entails, but there's no clear A, B, C, you meet this, you meet that, then you qualify. So in a way that can be good, because if you have a slightly weak case, if we're able to work as effective lawyers in terms of promoting your interest and framing everything in a good way for you, we can get an approval. Whereas it's tougher to fake it maybe with an EB-1a because there's clear categories of criteria. If you don't meet that criteria in that category, well, sorry, you don't meet it and you don't qualify. Whereas with the NIW, it's more discretionary, more subjective. And so that wiggle room sometimes is dangerous because we don't know how the officer is going to react to it. But on the other side, it could be positive because if, hey, it resonates with the officer, they see our perspective, then even though if you arguably had a kind of weak case, you still might get approval. So that shows the different criteria and how things might differ. In terms of speed, EB-1a is faster. There's premium processing, 15 days. NIW earlier in 2023 implemented premium processing, and that's 45 days. Not a big difference, but there could be reasons or situations where that extra 30 days one way or another could be very important for you. And here at the end of the day, if you're not sure which category is really the best for you, why not try both? You're not limited to just chocolate or vanilla. You can do both. I'm not saying necessarily that's a good strategy, but it could be an effective one based on your circumstances. For example, let's say we feel it's a bit of a stretch to get the EB-1a, but it's possible, it's doable, theoretically, if we kind of get lucky. And there's 15-day premium processing, and we decide, okay, within 15 days we could find out the answer. We prepare the petition, let's say, God forbid, but you don't get approved. Okay, you lose the legal fees, you lose the filing fees, etc., but at least you know where you stand. But if we say, based on how things come back, I mean, we could refile the EB-1a. Again, don't misunderstand me. You can refile an EB-1a or an NIW as many times as you want. And sometimes we do, based on, if we feel that we just got a bad adjudicator, they didn't really look at the evidence we provided, sometimes we might think the best course of action is just to refile. But let's say we get a denial on the EB-1a. We can then go the route of the NIW. The requirements, the criteria are different. And check out some of our other videos where we talk about this in more detail. But it's quite possible. We might say, let's give NIW a try too. We can't use everything from the previous EB-1a for the NIW. We'll have to restructure, recobble some things together, but at least some of the data, information, criteria that we collected for the EB-1a could be used for the NIW, and see how that goes. So there's different options available. If you've got a good lawyer who's got a good, creative set of eyes and mind that is able to kind of come up with these different options, like I just mentioned here as well, then you're in good hands. And the main thing here is to think creatively, work with somebody who's got a lot of experience that can look at things from the different aspects and has just a good feel about how things might or might not work with USCIS. as immigration attorneys, we can't give any guarantees. If you talk to an attorney that guarantees you getting approval for this or approval for that, I would grab your wallet and run away before they can get their hands on your money, because there is no way we can guarantee things. We've had the best cases that would get denied, and then we might have really weak ones that get approved. But if you do get a denial, it's important to have an experienced attorney who then can work with you to reformulate, refocus, and then refile or come up with the best option to then reach the finish line. With that, hopefully that was of value to you. Please leave any comments or questions below. Better yet, consider signing up for a consultation with us where we can go into the details of your particular case and come up with a good solution for you. Thank you.